Welcome back to Education Transformation, the podcast where we explore what learning could look like when we lead with curiosity, purpose, and possibility. Today's guest is someone who's shaking things up in the best possible way. Ashish Alexander is the founder and CEO of Revlearn, an initiative that helps teens get real-world career exposure early so they can design lives they actually want to live, not just follow someone else's path. Ashish is passionate about helping young people explore their passions, uncover their purpose, and discover that there's more than one way to build a meaningful future. He challenges traditional ideas about university being the only path and brings a refreshingly bold and often playful approach to serious systemic change. In today's conversation, we're diving into how he's using his personal journey, his neurodiverse lens, and his mission to spark curiosity and agency in young people around the world. Ashish, I'm so glad to have you. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Wonderful. Well, I'd like to just start with curiosity because that is how every AME learning journey begins. So, you mentioned being caught in the work is just work cycle before discovering your passion. So, could you tell us, was there something inside of you that made you curious about what life could be like outside of this work is just work cycle? How did it all begin for you?
Yeah, so yeah, it I think a lot of us, end up in the situation where we just follow what the world tells us, and it all starts, I believe, from school because we all experience school. It's become such a norm to go through traditional schooling for a lot of people, and um, as you finish school, the expectation is to follow the next stage of life, of standard living, which is to get a job, to pay the bills, and then eventually get married, buy a house, buy a car, whatever, and then retire, retire, and all of that. And then the issue with this is because school was such a enforced or like structured and mandatory thing, it translates into the workforce, and people are kind of give up to the fact that they have to do things that might not be something they like, and that's just part of life. And sure, yeah, you can get lucky, you can get unlucky, and you got to react to situations, and life is unpredictable. But I think the the thing that I experienced was that a lot of people in the workplaces that I worked in, weren't really wanting to be there, or didn't just wanted to get home, and and uh, and I also fell into that situation where I just thought that the life has to be more than this. Who determines what life has to be? If you
Hmm.
look at when you look at the more look at it from a more philosophical point of view, from atheism that believes that we go back to the ground, or other theories like that. There's no uh, single way to live, right? You don't have to do a job you don't like. You can do a job you want to like. You do a job you like, and from a religious point of view, um, you know, again from that point, I would take that. Why would God want you to do something you don't like? So and I'm a brave person, so I wanted to explore other ways to live life, and I started learning about entrepreneurship, and found out that a lot of these very successful entrepreneurs that everyone likes to talk about, uh, they somehow talk about passions, and
Mm.
and I explored that more, and I found out that sure, life was not easy for them. So life is not going to be easy, but you can do something you like along that journey, and that's what I believed was possible, and people should really realize that that is a reality that people can follow, and if only they understand that it is a possibility. And I wanted to share that with parents. I wanted to share that with young people, that you can do stuff you like, and that's why I created Revlon.
Excellent. That really resonates with me, Ashish, especially what you said about being around your colleagues in the workplace and realizing that no one really wanted to be there, because that was my experience when I was in the traditional school model for 25 years, predominantly, that I was finding that, educators and the students alike were generally waiting to go home. So let me ask you about your school experience or your observation of schools now. Do you notice a gap in what you see in schools and or like the career readiness that inspired you to start Revlearn? For what I'm wondering is, did you feel like in school that you were supported in any way to pursue something that you are passionate or interested about? Or was it more that you observed that something was missing and then you wanted to fill that gap?
Yeah, so I started my school journey in India, and India has several curriculums, and one of them was the state curriculum. Then the other one would be more, but pretty much all the Indian systems, I would say, generally have a heavier focus on rote learning or memorizing than Western curriculums. Even
Mm,
though Western curriculums are still not great, it is slightly better than the Indian system of more rote learning and memorization. And actually, because there was a saying going around in my community that the state board or the matriculation board is the easiest to get marks in, my parents put me in that. And that curriculum actually was the worst for rote learning and memorizing, and
oh
I'm
no.
terrible at that.
Oh no.
So I was in the system that didn't suit me the most. But yeah, I just went through that, and I just feel like my first, I did kindergarten, no, year one to um, year seven in that Indian system, and I just feel like those were just wasted years of my life. I just felt like a robot in those 7 years or plus of school, and then I came to Australia. And the great thing which about the Western curriculums, or at least the Australian curriculum, is you get more variety in your subjects
Mm,
than the standard math, the science route, or the standard, commerce, maths. You can do cooking, you can do carpentry, you can do 3D modeling, and but the problems with traditional education is all over the world. And so, you still had to go to school. There's no choice of not going to school. And when you did go to school, you had to be at a specific class at a specific time and just follow what the teacher told you to do, and just do your homework. And so, um, there's no agency. Students, like, sure, maybe you do get assignments once in a while, and then you do it sometimes you can do it in a group, but it's still, it's like little pockets of freedom, but it's
mm,
still very structured and something that you just have to do. And yeah, I look back on my school experience as, years that I think could have been better spent on actually pursuing, um, what my interests were, because I did all of that. I topped three subjects in school, at the last year of school, and then I started facing unemployment for a while. And so imagine if I actually pursued my interest in school and actually did what I liked, I would have got good at something and actually succeeded, rather than get into like depression,
mm,
after like topping three subjects in school, and not like not having an ideal life. And so I really think that, yeah, the school system could be better structured, and we see these new kind of formats coming around, which still are not mainstream yet. But one thing in my schooling experience was no one actually asked me what do I like to do? It was like, what subjects you want to pick, you got to choose. And no one's there to help you out choose. And once you do choose it, the next question is, okay, um, this is the career book. You got to pick what university course you want, and based on what you want to do, these are the subjects you need. And so it's more like, what do you already know what you want to do? And these are the subjects you need, and get good marks. And there's no career guidance there. And for my brother's experience, which was changed slightly, they did help him out with actually having a session to help him choose his subjects. But again, from speaking to a lot of high schoolers, a lot of teens now, um, the problem largely still exists in most of schools where it is college counseling, it's not career guidance. It's like, okay, what college do you want to go to, or what college course do you want to do? And here are the subjects. And that's basically it. And sure, there are some innovative schools, but there's very few of them, and there's not enough done. And so the average statistics around this is you get 30 minutes of career guidance in a whole year of school, and that's
Mm.
that I thought was not good. And I decided to start Revlearn to help people explore what their interests are, and help explore, try out careers, speak to people in different careers, learn about different careers, because that's what comes after school. And if you're not preparing people to find a career they like, I think that's sad.
It is. You're absolutely right. And that's such an important distinction that you made between college course counseling and career counseling. And it's
Mhm.
such a huge expectation. And even we could call it a burden that we put on people who are 17 years old, approximately, and all
Mhm.
of their years previously have lived an experience like the one you described, where they're just being told what to do and when to do it, and never being asked, what are you curious about? What are you interested in? And then suddenly they're 17 or 18 and they have to decide what they're going to do without having any real exposure. So you really challenged this idea of university being the only path. So
Yeah.
what alternatives do you wish that more young people and parents could explore or would explore before making this big decision?
Yeah, so I, did not have great experience in school, and actually I come from an Indian background, so from South Asians or migrants in general, a lot of expectations on us to finish university. And actually the culture in India is to do a master's as like the standard. Um, and so I tried a bachelor once, I dropped out. And then I tried a bachelor again in another country. So first one was in Australia, second one in India, and and dropped out again, disappointed my parents.
Wow.
Decided to just start working. But from that learning experience, I found out that, sure, university could work for some people, but even for those who top school, top uni, they all see a problem with traditional education. And a common saying is, I didn't really use much of what I learned from my university or school. Um, and some people do get some value, and do say they actually use something. But from you look at the majority, even from people who did really well in university, uh, from interviewing hundreds of people actually here, it is not translating well to the workforce. And so I think people have come to realize that, but because the culture of parents, other, probably parents, friends talking about college, school talking about college, everyone talking about college. It's like this culture that is really hard to break.
Yeah.
People know the problems. People know that, okay, there's problems with school, there's problems with, but I think we are seeing a shift that's happening, and it's happening slowly, but it is happening. We are seeing companies like Google that did look at degrees, stop looking at degrees anymore, and they actually create their own courses now. And they say, if you complete our certificate course that you can finish in 6 months or 3 months, I'm not exactly sure the timeline, but something like 6 months, that's equal to a degree. So if you do a degree for 4 years or you do the certificate for 6 months, we don't care. That's the same. and so and so companies like Google, Apple, famously for a long time, 50% of their workforce now today is actually don't have degrees, and prior to that, it was actually greater than that. And a lot of even traditional firms are slowly dropping the requirement. And actually, I've heard in the past year, we are seeing U.S. government states also dropping it for government jobs. So I think there's a slow shift that is happening. There's still a big culture. So even though someone at the top might realize that this is a problem and actually drop it, you're still going to have all those recruiters with years of kind of putting that in the job description, bachelor degree required. It's still going to be it's still going to take a while to change, but I think that's some changes that are happening. But the alternate paths apart from a degree is to just there's this thing called gig economy or freelance economy, where um are you able to so
Yeah,
are you able to hear me?
I am. Yes.
Yeah, okay, if you can cut that part out, if you can edit it out. But yeah, so there's this thing called the freelance economy or gig economy, and the whole concept is you learn a skill and you sell that skill. So example, video editing, to edit this recording or to edit some content you put up, you need to learn how to edit. Or if you want to put out a post on Instagram or Facebook and you're trying to grow your social media and create some sort of graphics for it, you need to learn graphics design or content creation. Like Canva is a software people use for that. And so learning a skill and then selling it to someone that needs help in that area. And so, that's an alternate path that a lot of people actually find success in.
Yes.
And there's other ways to get the traditional jobs too. So just because companies do hire people that have degrees doesn't mean they don't consider people that have built a portfolio. So building up, for example, coding, programming, it's very common for people to build a portfolio and show coding projects they've made and attach that to their resume. Uh, Example, a GitHub account which links to all their coding projects. And employers actually value that. Employers nowadays value practical experience more than the actual paper degree. And I've heard from employers that people that come out from these Ivy Leagues, sometimes, they have too big of an ego and they do actually prefer hiring people that don't come from those places. And so people are coming to realize it. And sure, it's not entirely, fixed, but people are slowly coming to realize that the degree is not it. Do they have the skills? Do they have the interest? And if someone is and if someone is really interested and you're willing to teach them how to do the job, they're going to be a really great employee. If you find someone who's really passionate about what they do, they're going to put the effort. But if you find someone that's just got all the credentials, um,
Mm.
they might not be interested. And like I said, a lot of people, actually, the stat is 70% of people are not engaged in their job, from a leading research organization called Gallup. And so I would rather hire the person that has the skills and showed me that he's developed them practically. And if I were to redo my life, because I did spend one bachelor degree there, wasted my parents' money, one bachelor degree there, wasted my own money from gift money people gave me, and from working also. Um, and if I just saved all that time and just spend those 3-4 years that people spend in university, just spend that on courses and building up my skills. And there's these alternate things called boot camps. So boot camps take a very short amount of time, so like 6 months, maybe max a year. And in that year, they actually have people that help you get a job at the end of the boot camp. So they have people who are invested in your success. And there's some boot camps that, charge you a little bit later. And so there are new models coming up, but to conclude, there is, the freelancing gig economy, there is boot camps, short courses, there are, in Australia, we call it TAFE, but it's basically short diploma courses or certificates, and just get into the job, in some sort of entry-level position and work your way up. And actually, I've heard from some people where people that don't have degrees have started in a lower role, and actually by the end of someone finishing their 4 years or 3 years of a degree have progressed to the same or even higher position than someone who has a degree applying for that same job. So those are some of the other options.
That is amazing. There are a lot of other options out there. And I'm thinking now about how you've spoken openly about being neurodiverse. And I love that you spell diverse Diverss. And we could get into the English respelling project if time permits. But what I really want to touch on, what I'm thinking about as you're describing all of these alternatives, these options, is I'm thinking about the neurodiverse learners and how the traditional model of education really does a disservice to neurodiversity. So I'm curious from your perspective, how has neurodiversity shaped you and your approach to learning and work and entrepreneurship? And do you also feel that as a neurodiverse person, that these kinds of options serve you better?
Yeah, and I tried to understand why was I so different and why did I have so many issues. And I found out through that journey, like you mentioned, I was neurodiverse, specifically ADHD, dyslexic, and um, I found out that 40% of Australian, American, and South American university students drop out from their degrees. So, I was not like some small minority. So there's actually it's actually quite big nowadays.
That is,
And you do notice like people are leaving, why is that person I saw last week not here? And so yeah, a lot of people drop out nowadays. And ADHD people are 90% likely to drop out. So
wow.
so so I don't know how
That's,
accurate it is, but even if you drop it down to 80, that's a that's
yes.
that's a lot of ADHD people. And the issues there is, when the overwhelm, when you do change the whole environment, and structure on how something is done, there's more overwhelm, and some issues can happen where it does not, you don't fit in the system. And really, what I didn't like about my university experience was just, it's just basically an extension of school. I finished 12 years of school. I don't want to do another 4 more. And it was just some lecturer who's not interested in what he's talking about. And people are sleeping, and you just have to listen to this whole thing, and that's it. Class is over, and then you got to do your assignment. And so I couldn't do another 4 years more of school. And I think that uh, education largely is not suited for neurodiverse learners. And the fact that we have labels like ADHD, autism, dyslexia is because of school, I like to think. Because if we don't have people disrupting class or moving around too much or fidgeting or whatever it is that the teachers don't like, you won't label kids as ADHD if you don't put them in a class hall in the whole day, versus in ancient times, being out more, where their movement or whatever would be actually an advantage than
Yeah.
than being in class. And so I feel like a lot of the traits like ADHD, dyslexia. I don't have personal experience with autism, but I feel neurodiversity in general is all diagnosed and like medicated because of school and the way school is structured. And so yeah, I feel that is something that we could work on.
Absolutely.
Mhm,
100%. I agree with you.
mhm.
So let's go to our final question, unless you have something beyond this, which you'll be welcome to make a comment. But I'm really curious about Revlearn, and where do you see Revlearn in 5 years? And maybe you could also just talk a little bit about what does success look like for the young people who will have the opportunity to experience Revlearn?
Yeah, so what what I wish for with Revlon and what I would love to see is is parents, because largely we who we really need to convince is parents,
Mm,
because young people, they are sold a lot of things and they have a lot on their plate, like we discussed in our previous conversation. There's so many things they need to do, and if their parents don't tell them they need to, you know, figure out what to do after school, or, help them go through a career guidance journey, explore their interest, it's not going to be a priority for them. And what's pushed on them is to get good grades, go to a good university, and so that's what they value. And also, when you're young, you don't have a job, you don't have money, and so who are really largely need to convince is parents, because they are the ones who are in control. And what I would wish for is for more parents to see that school and this whole concept of doing work just because you have to do it is not what it is that's not all to life. And you can actually find something that you're interested in. And sure, you might not start earning money from day one. Sure, your kid that's interested in being a YouTuber, because people like to pull up like very extreme jobs, like someone, oh, my kid wants to be a YouTuber, or they want to be a gamer, or they want to become a basketball player. Sure, um, those are harder fields to succeed in, because a lot of people want to be YouTubers or actors or basketball players. But just because it's hard does not mean it's a bad path to pursue, because through the pursuit of your interests and passions, you learn so many skills that are transferable to the next thing that you try out. And and I think that those basketball players that actually did not make it to the NBA and make money out of it, they've learned so much. And I think that that is the ideal path to follow, versus just because it's so hard, just because one person make it, let's skip pursuing our passions, let's skip pursuing our interests, because then you get into a habit of not doing what you like, and then you end up in a job you don't like, and then your health suffers because of it. I believe it's all connected, and
yes.
burnout and all of that. And so, I would love for parents to realize that I would like, a different, I would like a different experience for my child, and actually for myself too, because parents can make that decision too for themselves, and explore that. And someone told me, you probably don't need to just counsel kids, don't need to just guide kids. You probably need to also have parents part of your program too. And I'm not sure, I'm not sure how we're going to structure it exactly, but I would love for parents to understand that pursuing your passions, pursuing your interest is going to be the best thing for my child, and actually sign up for a career guidance program or internship program, volunteer program. Just get them to see what your kid is interested in, and get them in some sort of program. Example, Revlearn. Um, and um, and we have mentors, basically, to give you an example what happens in our program. We have mentors that are one step ahead of your child. They don't have to be the know-it-alls. And
Yes.
and we have different mentors that are skilled in different areas. So if your kid is interested in coding, we can connect them with a coding mentor. If your kid is interested in you know biomedical science, or something else, we can connect them. There's so many people out there, and really what we do at Revlearn is just helping them explore that through a mentorship format and experiences. So create a project out of your interest, and then eventually, as they grow up and get older and older, we have internships, we have volunteer experiences that we helped get them, and help them design a pathway where they can make a career out of it. And yeah, so my wish is we help thousands of students explore their interests and find passions in their life and make careers out of it. And that is what I wish for Revlon 5 years from now.
Wow. Ashish, everything you were just saying, it was like music to my ears. Really,
Mhm,
it really touched my heart. It so
mhm,
deeply in alignment with what I believe and what I'm practicing through AME, which is to encourage young humans to have diverse experiences, to
mhm,
explore their curiosities and allow those explorations to lead to their passions and purpose. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for creating Revlearn and helping young humans see that there is another way, and that looking within themselves and discovering what their interest is a beautiful place to begin. So as we wrap up here, Ashish, let me ask you, how can people find you, connect with you, learn more about Revlearn?
Yeah, so uh, we do have a website, and if you do click the get in, there's a contact us section where you can enter a message and send us a message, and we'll get back to you. So that's one way, and that's revlearn.org. So Rev from revolution and then learn.org. If you just type Revlon on Google, it'll show up. And it also links you to a community online where we have a bunch of high schoolers that ask us questions, and we help them out. We share resources for free. And The other way, if you're watching this on other platforms like LinkedIn, you can search up my name, Ashish Alexander, it'll show up. Or like, I think if you go to our website, we have all our socials listed, and I'm on all the platforms. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, yeah, you name it, I'm on all the platforms. So
Excellent.
yeah, and I think you can link, maybe if you really want, I can also link my email to Alexandra, and you can get in contact with me that way.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Wonderful, Ashish. Thank you so much for your time. Any
Mhm.
final comments before we say farewell?
No, I think it was wonderful, and yeah, I just wanted to yeah, encourage people to explore their interest, and I think that this is going to be great for parents to realize the possibilities that are out there. It doesn't have to be, the standard way of job, university, end up like everyone else. There's a whole different world out there, and
Yes.
and just looking at people that are so passionate about what they do, it's just looking and learning from them. You realize that there is a different life out there, and I would love to see other people see that.
Excellent. Well, you and I
Mhm.
certainly have that in common. So thank you very much, Ashish.
Yeah.
Until next time, thank you for education transformation.